He did everything right. He didn't argue, didn't ask, didn't interfere. He just lived someone else's life every day and called it love. And then he realized the silence that saved him became the thing that killed him. There's a kind of damage that leaves no bruises. You don't notice it at first because it doesn't come all at once. It's a slow erosion. One comment here, one silent expectation there, a look that says, "Really? You're going to say that?" And you swallow your voice again. That's how it starts. Not with betrayal, not with rage, with politeness, with warmth even, with the idea that peace is worth more than your boundaries, that being accepted is better than being real, that love should cost you something, and if it doesn't, you must not be giving enough. So you give, not because they asked, but because you believed they had the right to take. They don't need to scream. All they need is to keep you second-guessing yourself. They dress it up as concern, as wisdom, as just trying to help. But pay attention. Every time they say, "You're too sensitive," what they mean is, "I refuse to take responsibility." They act like they're protecting you, but somehow you're the one shrinking. It's always subtle. That's what makes it dangerous. They won't come at you directly. That would be too honest. Instead, they drip-feed doubt into your system. You begin to question your reactions, your worth, your own memories. And one day you look in the mirror and realize you don't recognize the person staring back, not because you've changed, but because you've been edited. They don't kill your soul in one blow, they starve it, they deprive it of truth. They convince you that your pain is an overreaction and your silence is maturity. It's not. It's surrender. The ones who do this to you aren't strangers. Strangers don't have that kind of access. It's the ones you love, the ones who say they love you, the ones who know exactly which string to pull, which word to say, which silence to hold. And every time you avoid the fight, every time you let it slide, every time you tell yourself, "It's not worth it," they win. But it's not a fight you're avoiding. It's yourself. It's your truth. It's your limit. It's the part of you that still remembers who you were before their expectations rewrote you. This isn't about hate. This isn't even about them. This is about the damage done by the things you allowed in the name of love, respect, loyalty, family, peace. This is about the quiet assassins, the ones who smile while they're erasing you. In part 2, I'll tell you how to spot them instantly by the 3 lines they always use, and why the worst one sounds like love. There's a pattern to people who drain your strength quietly. They never admit it, but they all speak the same language, not with accents or dialects, with phrases, short ones, polished by years of habit, practiced, precise, the kind that hit the exact spot where your doubt lives. One line usually comes early. "I just want what's best for you." It sounds kind, almost noble. But listen carefully. The moment you stop agreeing with their idea of best, their tone changes, their concern tightens, their warmth cools. You suddenly feel like you've disappointed a teacher you never chose. The line was never about your well-being. It was about control disguised as care. A second phrase slips in when they sense you pulling back. "You're imagining things." That one is dangerous. It rewrites reality. It forces you to question your perception. It makes you apologize for instincts that were trying to protect you. And once you begin doubting your own clarity, you'll believe anything they say, even the things that contradict everything inside you. Then there's the quietest, sharpest phrase of all. "I would never hurt you." People who truly mean this never say it. People who say it already did, and they know it. They just need you to forget. They need your guilt to overpower your memory. Because if you start remembering how many times they dismissed your feelings, brushed off your pain, or treated your silence like permission, their illusion collapses. Although these lines differ in tone, they work for the same purpose, to make you doubt your right to feel what you feel. Some do it gently, with a smile. Others do it with emotional fatigue, as if your needs are exhausting. Either way, the effect is the same. You shrink, they expand. You adapt, they demand. You step back, they step forward. And after enough repetition, you convince yourself it's easier not to disturb the balance. But the balance was never real. It was a cage built from soft words. There's another thing they rely on, your fear of being too much. They know you were raised to be polite, understanding, patient. They know you'd rather blame yourself than risk losing someone. They know silence feels safer than conflict, and they use that silence like a tool. Manipulators don't need volume, they need access. They don't shout, they whisper. They don't forbid, they suggest. They don't push. They tilt reality just enough for you to lean their way. Once you recognize these patterns, the mask falls off. Not because they changed, but because you finally looked at their words without trying to justify them. Truth has a strange way of showing up, quietly, the same way the damage began. A person who truly cares won't demand that you malfunction for their comfort. They won't punish you for clarity. They won't guilt you for honesty. And they definitely won't need to convince you of their innocence with rehearsed lines. Real connection doesn't ask for self-betrayal. If you recognize yourself in even one sentence, don't stay silent. Write in the comments who these people are for you. Sometimes just acknowledging it is enough to say no to them for the first time. And if these topics are close to your heart, subscribe. Here, people talk openly about things you've kept quiet about for a long time. Quietly, genuinely, without fuss, but to the point. It took me decades to realize the most exhausting part wasn't their control, it was my defense. Every time I tried to explain myself, I handed them the tools to dismantle me, justifying why I felt hurt, clarifying why I needed space, proving that I wasn't overreacting. I thought if I found the right words, they'd finally understand. I thought if I just made it clear enough, they'd stop. They didn't, because the goal was never understanding. It was domination dressed up as misunderstanding. And I played my part, politely, rationally, endlessly. Silence wasn't my prison. My explanations were. They fed off them, took my reasons and twisted them into weaknesses. You're too emotional. You're making everything about you. You always have to complicate things. Each word I gave became a weapon. Each justification became evidence against me. It's not that they were smart. It's that I was trained to defend my worth even when no one was attacking it outright. And that's how they held power. Not through force, but through my need to be seen as reasonable. You want to break the cycle? Stop defending your right to feel. No, that doesn't make you rude. No, that doesn't make you heartless. It makes you whole. They don't know what to do with that. People who rely on your emotional compliance get confused when you no longer volunteer it. The silence that used to feel like surrender becomes a wall they can't climb. You don't argue. You don't raise your voice. You just stop offering yourself for dissection. One day, someone will try to press your buttons, and you won't move. They'll expect the usual, the soft voice, the apology, the backtracking. But instead, they'll meet something else, a calm that doesn't seek approval, a boundary that doesn't explain itself. That's when it ends, not loudly, not dramatically, but absolutely. It ends when your peace is no longer up for negotiation. And don't expect applause. No one claps when you reclaim yourself, especially not the ones who benefited from your confusion. You'll probably be accused of changing, of being cold, of becoming selfish. Let them talk. People who truly respect you won't need an explanation for your no. They'll recognize it as the sign that you finally said yes to yourself. That's not rebellion. That's recovery. When you stop explaining, you stop bleeding. You stop handing out maps to people who only want to stay lost. You stop performing the version of yourself they're comfortable with and start living the version you actually are. And that's when the quiet killing ends. There was a time when I thought love meant sacrifice. The more you gave up, the more noble you were. The more you tolerated, the more loyal. I wore my wounds like badges of honor, proof that I was committed, that I was the bigger person, that I didn't give up easily. That's not love. That's programming. Some people don't love you. They leverage you. They figure out what you crave most: validation, belonging, peace. And then they offer it in just enough doses to keep you trying harder, like rationing oxygen to someone underwater. Real love doesn't do that. It doesn't bargain with your silence. It doesn't punish your needs. It doesn't make you prove your worth every time you speak the truth. But when you've been trained to associate discomfort with loyalty, you lose track of what's healthy. You start believing that love is supposed to stretch you to the edge. That pain is just the price of staying connected. That walking away means you never really cared. Let me say something that took me too many years to understand. Love that costs you your clarity is not love. It's control with a pretty face, and it hides in the small things. The missed calls they expect you to excuse, the jokes at your expense, the way they roll their eyes when you say something vulnerable. You feel it, not as anger, but as a quiet shrinking, an internal apology you can't quite put into words. They don't have to yell. The distance they create when you need closeness is enough. The silence when you finally open up. The disapproval when you set a limit. And you start adapting, slowly, subconsciously, lowering your needs, editing your truth, dimming your light just enough to keep the peace. But peace without honesty is just quiet suffering. Love doesn't ask you to betray yourself. It doesn't shame you into silence. It doesn't make you walk on eggshells in your own life. You were not made to be a mirror for someone else's comfort. You were not put here to manage other people's reactions. And you do not need to hurt to prove you care. They'll tell you it's complicated, that everyone has flaws, that relationships take work, and they're not wrong. But when the work is always yours, when the flaws always fall on your side, when the relationship feels like walking through a minefield barefoot, it's not love anymore. It's emotional captivity. You can't heal in the same environment that's breaking you. You can't grow around people who benefit from your confusion. And you sure as hell can't be yourself around someone who only loves the version of you that agrees with everything they say. So here's the truth most people avoid. Some people never loved you. They loved what you did for their comfort. And the moment you stop performing, their affection disappears. That's not your loss. That's your freedom, finally showing up. They always make it about you. You've changed. You're too sensitive now. You used to be more understanding. No, you didn't change. You woke up. For years, you wore someone else's skin just to feel accepted. You held your breath in rooms that drained you. You laughed at things that hurt you. You apologized when you were the one bleeding. And they called that love. They called that maturity. They called that being easy to be around. What it really was? Self-abandonment dressed up as loyalty. They never saw you. Not because you were invisible, but because you were too busy trying to be what they wanted. And every time you tried to show your real face, they flinched. So you shrank. Again and again. Until one day, you forgot what your full size even felt like. That's not weakness. That's survival. But here's what survival does. It teaches you silence. It teaches you to scan every room for risk. It teaches you to speak in careful tones, to avoid certain words, to predict disappointment before it even happens. It turns you into a version of yourself that exists not to live, but to not get hurt. And they call that love? That's not what love does. Love doesn't train you to disappear. Love doesn't punish you for being whole. Love doesn't make you question your instincts, your memory, your voice. You're not broken. You're tired. Tired of translating your needs into palatable sentences. Tired of managing everyone's emotions like it's your full-time job. Tired of carrying guilt that was never yours in the first place. You don't owe them another version of yourself. You don't owe them another performance. You don't owe them access to a soul they've already dismissed. This is the part no one talks about. The rage isn't just toward them, it's toward yourself. For staying, for silencing, for bargaining. But that rage is not your enemy. It's your clarity. It's your real self clawing its way out of the wreckage. It's your spine remembering it still exists. Let it come. Let the truth hurt. Let it burn. Let it break the fake peace you've been protecting. Because nothing is more exhausting than keeping yourself small just to feel safe. And nothing is more powerful than the moment you decide to stop. You don't need their validation. You need your own permission to speak, to walk away, to rest, to stop making excuses for behavior that's been hurting you for years, to say, finally, with no apology, no, you're not crazy, you're not too much, you're not cold, distant, or dramatic. You're just done betraying the one person who's always been there, you. And when you reach that point, when you stop asking for permission to exist, they lose. Quietly. Completely. Permanently. They won't apologize. Not because they don't know what they've done, but because your silence served them. Your patience was convenient. Your absence of boundaries made their life easier. And now that you've pulled back, they'll say you changed, that you became distant, that you gave up. Let them say it. You no longer need their version of the story to feel whole. You're not here to argue. You're not here to explain. You're not even here to be understood. You're here to live fully, quietly, clearly, without shrinking to fit someone else's comfort zone. That's what peace really is, not a feeling, a position, one you choose deliberately, daily, by refusing to go where your dignity is at risk. It's not loud. It doesn't come with closure speeches or dramatic exits. Sometimes it looks like not replying. Sometimes it's walking away mid-sentence. Sometimes it's just not showing up where your soul feels cornered. That's not rudeness. That's respect for yourself. People think healing is soft, gentle, spiritual. It's not. It's bloody. It's dry. It's lonely as hell. It means you stop being the person they could guilt into staying. It means you grieve the fantasy of who you thought they were. And it means you walk through days where everything feels unfamiliar, because for the first time, you're not betraying yourself to keep the peace. Let that unfamiliarity settle. Let it shape you. Let it clean out what never belonged. Because what comes next isn't ease, it's clarity. You'll speak less. You'll explain nothing. You'll notice the way your body relaxes when the right people are around and tightens when the wrong ones enter the room. You'll stop trying to fix things that were never yours to carry. You'll lose interest in defending yourself. And for the first time in years, your life won't feel like something you're surviving. It will feel quiet, not empty, still, solid, yours. And when someone asks, "What happened to you?" you won't need to answer, because the truth will already be visible in your posture, your pace, your peace. You're no longer trying to be liked. You're free, not perfect, not healed, not enlightened, just free enough to not need what once destroyed you. They never had the power. They just had your permission. Now, they don't even have your attention. And that, right there, is the quiet victory. No noise, no revenge, no big moment, just a door you closed and never opened again.